Welcome back to the program. It is time for our hot potato political roundtable. I'm joined by Hayden Shamel. She's the Garland County Democratic Committee chairperson and former congressional district candidate in the 4th District on the Democratic side. Thank you for being here. John Burris with Capital Advisors Group, former Republican legislator, former House Minority Whip. You never got to enjoy the fruits of, were you majority leader?
No, minority leader.
Minority leader.
That's right, but never majority leader.
All right.
Westerman took that over.
You were just so close, John.
Yeah.
So close. All right, let's talk about impeachment. It has been the topic of the week in Washington, D.C., and really around all of the Arkansas political circles here. We had Representative Rick Crawford on earlier in the show. I asked him point blank, do you think what Trump did and admitted to was an impeachable offense? He says, I absolutely don't think it's an impeachable offense. True or false? Hayden.
The president asked the Ukrainian president for dirt on his political rival. That we know. And I don't think there's any way we can argue with the facts. The president has admitted to doing so. He's released the transcript that shows that he's done so. The only thing left for us to do is to impeach, Martin Luther King Jr. once said that the time is always right to do what's right. And we have to do the right thing. Now, I want to make the point that doing the right thing is not always doing what's in your own best interest. And sadly, the reality is for the Democrats right now, pursuing impeachment is not necessarily what's politically expedient.
Why do you think that?
Well, we know that once we hit the Senate, there's no way that they're going to vote to convict. But the reality is this. We have to live with ourselves, and we have to retain a shred of integrity and decency, and the only thing that we've got left to do is to do the right thing, and the right thing to do is to pursue impeachment.
Hayden makes her compelling argument there. You heard what the congressman said. Mm-hmm. He doesn't think it's an impeachable offense. What do you think?
Well, the facts still do have to come out. The entire whistleblower complaint was secondhand. Even if all the facts are true, and we've read the transcript, I did not read a direct quid pro quo. What the president said was end corruption in your country. And I think that to a lot of Arkansans, to a lot of Americans, that's a pretty simple message. We spend hundreds of millions, billions of dollars in aid to countries. And for a president to say, end the corruption in your country before I send you more, because here's what I've heard, a lot of what he'd heard was true. And I just think that impeachment, when you boil it down, impeachment at its core is undoing the will of the voters, because the voters elected Donald Trump. Democrats have been mad about it since November of 2016. There's another election coming up. I tend to think Donald Trump will lose in that election, but it ought to be a serious thought process before we embark down the path to undo the will of the voters that put a president in office. I didn't see anything in that transcript that was a smoking gun. Democrats are hammers looking for nails. They're always going to see a smoking gun when it comes to Donald Trump. Where does it cross the line between Trump being Trump and saying something that's a little bit common sense? Hunter Biden was making millions out of the Ukraine. And
what's illegal about that?
Nothing. But that's what makes people mad. If you dot the I's, cross the T's, sign the right kind of contract, corruption's okay. But to call corruption gets you impeached. People read that and it just gets confusing, and Trump seems like the guy that's just saying something that's common sense.
All right.
What's not confusing is asking a head of state to interfere in the United States elections. That is a fact.
But he didn't ask that. He said investigate
confusing.
Corruption in your country. That includes Hunter Biden and the millions of dollars he was making off of the country.
He also said Joe Biden in there too.
Right, but he didn't say, hey, interfere. He said
asked
investigate
for political
corruption.
dirt on his opponent.
He said
That's very clear.
corruption.
That's the facts. It's not an opinion, it's facts. And an impeachment inquiry is valid.
The inquiry is valid. We'll see what the facts.
Yeah, I do want to point out it is an impeachment inquiry at this point. Doesn't mean that they're not to. But I will say, to me, it's inevitable that the Democrats will move articles of impeachment. I think that, as you both indicated, there's enough there for them to move on that, even though there'll be Republican resistance to it. Here's my question to you all, though. Do the Republicans in the Senate, do they convict or acquit. You've kind of suggested that you think that they will acquit. But,
Absolutely.
But do you think that there's enough of them that might peel off if there's enough evidence that's presented that they could change their minds?
I wish there were, but sadly in these divided times, we've seen the country change in 3 years in ways I never thought were possible. I do not believe that they will ever vote to convict. I think they're going to stand behind this president, and I think they're going to regret it. I think history will play out and they will be on the wrong side of history.
What do you think, John?
I think that if there are crimes that prove to be impeachable, that the president inexplicably committed, black and white, I think Republicans would vote to convict him. But as you pointed out, it's an inquiry, and we'll see what facts come out. Democrats have their minds made up. I think Republicans are saying, we're going to wait and see what the facts are.
All right, we got to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come back and let you guys pitch your topics to everybody. We're back with more right after this. And welcome back to the program. I'm Roby, joined by John Burris and Hayden Shamel. All right, let's finish our hot potato political roundtable. Hayden, I'm going to let you go first. You bring a topic to the table, and it is
climate change.
All right.
And particularly Greta Thunberg. We saw at the UN Climate Summit this week her powerful speech. I hope you've had an opportunity to see the speech itself. Eloquent, moving, powerful. But in particular, I have watched over the past week, as events have kind of played out, the hostility and the pushback that we've seen in response to this 16-year-old girl. Pundits have gone so far as to claim she's mentally ill and to liken her image to Nazi propaganda. And I guess my question has more to do with this. Have we crossed a line as humankind that we can't come back from, where we're attacking a young child for speaking out on an issue that she believes in?
No. I mean, and I'll come back to her particular case, but I would say humankind has always been humankind. Where it started to go off the rails is when we could all talk to each other via the internet. Turns out democracy was easier when we didn't know what everybody else was thinking. But regardless with her, I read some of those comments, some of them, and they are wrong. I mean, no one should make fun of her appearance, or anything else. I would say I watched her speech also, and it's just so hard to watch a teenager talk about her childhood being robbed. I do think that if I was her family, put it that way, if I was her parents, I'd buy her a bicycle, I'd buy her a horse, I'd send her on a vacation, I'd say, have a hobby, have a passion, but don't think that your childhood's been robbed because of climate change. It's okay to have a passion. I had them, but I think someone ought to give her some advice to have a life and have a passion at the same time. And I think that is a fair point. Everyone has a passion. It shouldn't consume you. And hers is climate change, so be it. We can debate about man-made versus otherwise, but I hope that she can find a little bit more balance.
Did you get the answer to your question, Hayden? Maybe? I think he's...
I got an answer.
All right. John, Little Rock School District, is that your topic?
It is.
Let's hear it.
I'm embarrassed for my state. The past 2 weeks, or however long it's been.
I think it's been almost 5 years is what it's been.
No, it's been decades, but I get your point. I've read supposed leaders calling our governor Orville Faubus, calling Johnny Key Orville Faubus. It's created national headlines, all because of a proposed return to local control for some districts and not for some others, because of objective criteria based on test scores and student performance. And some of the loudest voices in the room have been to compare him to Orville Faubus and talk about segregation. It's embarrassing. They have, some of those people, they have a very adult, it summarizes the problem well, they have a very adult-centered focus. It's about them, their agenda, and their perspective, not about kids. And it consumes the air out of the room, and it's why we can never have a real conversation about the problems that have plagued this district for decades, long before Johnny Key. And I'm embarrassed that people have made those comparisons. They've led to bad national headlines, and I hope that in the future the debate can be more calm, with calmer people being a part of it.
All right, Hayden, I'll give you the last word.
So, we've made this about race, and what this is really about is money. It's about the haves and have-nots, and that's true with a lot of issues, from the climate to education to healthcare. We've got a line between the haves and have-nots. And what this is actually about is about people who want to privatize public education.
I
And when
disagree.
they
What
look at
about
our
public
children,
school choice? That would
when
be
they look at
fine.
our children, they don't look at our children like teachers do and see in their eyes the capacity to learn and to do great things. Instead, what they look at our children as are dollars that they can pad their greedy pockets with. This is a nationwide movement that's led federally by Betsy DeVos, and statewide it's being led by the Walton Family Foundation. And what this is really about, what it comes down to is we've got lobbyist and special interest money that's pushing school choice, when in reality what that word choice means is charter and private schools, and it's about demonizing teachers. And if you look over the course of the past several legislative sessions, what you see is an effort, a purposeful effort to put public taxpayer dollars into private schools. They are demeaning and cutting the legs from underneath teachers at every opportunity, whether that is from stealing our Arkansas teacher retirement, to attempting to take away teachers' planning time. You know, teachers are the hardest working individuals that I know, and if anybody should have input into how to better our schools, it's our teachers. Yet what we've seen is an effort to quiet the voices of teachers. Well, I won't have it. Education is the cornerstone of our American democracy, and the best thing that we can do for our kids is to lift them up, not tear them down.
All right, well, I got not another half hour to go into this, but I got 30 seconds for you to have the last word.
No one's trying to do any of the things you said. No one has stolen retirement dollars. No one has diminished teachers. The governor and Johnny Key, the commissioner, proposed returning control to Little Rock. It was taken away because they proved that they could not manage it. A court took away DSEG funding 5 or so years ago, and the city or the school district had not prepared. So now we are talking about returning some of that control, and
to the haves, not to the have-nots. We're going to return control to the schools that
epitomizing
have.
the problem. You are bringing your adult perspective into a conversation instead of making it about schools and kids.
And you are saying that bureaucrats, legislators who sit in Little Rock or DC can better make decisions for our kids than teachers who work harder than any other profession that I know. They don't even get to go to the bathroom during the course of a school day,
Lots
John.
of professions work hard, not just teachers. We're talking about management, not even teachers.
And if you think that legislators can better manage a classroom than a teacher,
Legislators
then you're wrong,
don't.
and I beg to differ.
I'm not even talking about legislators. Most of all, what I'm talking about is we are not in the days of segregation in Orville-Faubus, and it's embarrassing for
Not yet,
leaders.
we aren't.
It is so irresponsible to make that comparison.
Is it?
For you or for anyone else. People should be more responsible.
I think, considering that Wednesday was the 62nd anniversary, that this is the perfect time to be talking about it. We can't do this to our kids. They deserve better.
All right, I got to end it there, although I'm pretty sure everybody watching would love to see you guys in a Web Extra, but we're out of time. Hayden Shamel, John Burris, thank you very much. We're going to hug this out afterwards, I promise. That's all for today's program. I'm Roby Brock. We'll see you next time.